just pull up the videos here. Wait for a few people to show up. Get everything ready. Make sure y'all can hear me. Guess we'll find out. What's up, HBO Matt? Welcome. Make sure, can y'all hear me okay? Everybody good? Volume good? Do I need to speak closer to the mic? Everybody good? All right. Need more volume. Let's try this. How's that? A little bit better on the volume? Volume super low. I will jack it up then. How's that? Check 1 2. Check 1 2. All right. Can y'all hear me? Good to go? Dang it, how is it still low? It drives me nuts. This board is driving me crazy. Okay, guys, I don't know if you can hear me or not. I don't know if it's... Okay, that's better? Good. All right. I want to talk a little bit about what's going on here in Texas about how the speaker is trying to kill the gun rights movement by what I call Smolletting. And as many of you know, the Jussie Smollett issue up in Chicago, where Jussie Smollett claims that he was attacked by two white males and they were wearing MAGA hats and beat the crap out of him because he was gay and black and all that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, that's what Bonnen is doing right now. It turns out that, of course, the two white MAGA country folks that were attacking Smollett were two black non-MAGA folks who were paid by Smollett. It was all a hoax. It was all fake. It was all made up. Why? To blame Trump and to somehow bring down Trump and to somehow make himself into the victim. Well, now that's what we've got here with Bonnen. All right, Bonnen is now the Jussie Smollett of Texas. There's a story in the Houston Chronicle today by who is this? Andrea Zielinski's got a story up today in the Houston Chronicle about supposedly what had happened with gun rights movement in Texas. I want to put some truth into it, but first I want to read you this article, all right? House Speaker Dennis Bonnen says that Texas troopers had his home in Lake Jackson under surveillance last week amid concerns that an outraged gun rights activist was headed there. Now, there's a couple things to pull out of this first paragraph, all right? House Speaker Dennis Bonnen says, and then he goes, so where did they get this information from? From Dennis Bonnen. Dennis Bonnen is going to the media now with this fake narrative. Why? Because Dennis Bonnen does not want you, fellow Texans, to have the right to keep and bear arms without government permission slips. And I'm going to prove it. This is no longer does Bonnen support unlicensed carry, unlicensed self-defense, or doesn't he? We no longer have to worry about whether we believe that or he believes that. Okay, I'm going to prove to you that Dennis Bonnen, in his own words, does not support the right to keep and bear arms without government permission. The story goes on. Chris McNutt, executive director of the nonprofit Texas Gun Rights, is advocating for a constitutional carry bill that will allow gun owners to carry their pistols openly or concealed in public without a license. The bill has gone nowhere so far in the legislative session, and McNutt took to, catch this, posting rants on Facebook about Bonnen. There's a lot of, can I use the liberal term of dog whistles? There are a lot of liberal media dog whistles in this story. Bonnen and his anti-gun liberal media elitist colluders are working overtime now to shut down you and me, to shut down gun rights. And they're using these words. So we've already got outraged gun rights activist was headed to his house. We've got posting rants on Facebook. When you post information about a politician who is not doing what the politician promised he would do, that's not okay, is that a rant? That's a rant. It might be or whatever. But these videos that I'm going to talk about from Chris McNutt were not rants. Then McNutt visited the homes of Bonnen allies Amarillo rep Four Price and Lubbock rep Dustin Burrows early last week. McNutt posted a video of himself in Burrows' neighborhood on the Texas Gun Rights Facebook page. The bill has gone nowhere in the legislative session, and McNutt took to... that's a repeat there. Somehow I reprinted that there. On March 27th, while Bonnen was 200 miles away in Austin for an all-day budget session, McNutt arrived in the speaker's neighborhood. As first reported by The Facts, a Brazoria County newspaper, officers with the Department of Public Safety were waiting for him. McNutt handed them a business card and left. Bonnen said. Did you catch that? Bonnen told the newspaper that McNutt approached his house, handed a business card to the DPS agents, and then left. This is false. This is the first lie that Bonnen has told in this story, among many. And I'm going to call it out for what it is. Here's what really happened. Bonnen selected a speaker for the Homeland Security and Public Safety Committee to kill constitutional carry. That's the only reason he would have selected Pancho Narvaez to head that committee. They have been looking for an excuse since day one to kill constitutional carry. And we all knew it. The minute that we saw the committee assignments and we saw that Pancho Narvaez was going to be the chair of the committee that hears all the gun bills, we knew right then and there that we were screwed. And so gun rights activists took to social media and to our email lists and everywhere we could to highlight the fact that the Speaker of the House, a Republican, supposedly pro-gun, I believe he's even A-rated by the NRA, had selected an anti-gun D-rated by the NRA, D-rated chair to house that committee that hears gun bills. So all of the gun rights groups got upset. And they started talking about how Bonnen's trying to kill constitutional carry, and Bonnen's trying to kill our rights, and Bonnen's trying to destroy all this stuff, and it's going to hurt us. And we were all blaming Bonnen. And there were phone calls going out, you name it. Well, Bonnen takes to Twitter. Bonnen takes to Facebook. And I'm trying to find the post here. I wanted to read it exactly. I know I have it saved somewhere here, but here we go. Search for post on this page. Fringe. Let's see. Where is this here? Here it is. It has come to my attention. This is what, on January 26th, shortly after Bonnen had chosen who the chair people were going to be for the committees. January 26th, this is what Dennis Bonnen put on his Facebook page. For 22 years, I have been an advocate for Texas Second Amendment rights. Remember that. Remember that, because he says I've been an advocate for Texans' Second Amendment rights. I have not wavered at any point. I have not changed my mind in the last 2 weeks. To suggest otherwise is asinine. I have an A rating with the NRA and plan to keep it. I have appointed committees in the Texas House which represent diverse views, just as any well-functioning democracy should. No, Dennis. What should happen is, if there is a Republican majority, if the people select a majority of Republicans or Democrats or Libertarians or Independents or Socialists or whatever, then the legislature should reflect the majority. In other words, I can understand in some instances that are perhaps not political that you can put a Democrat in a non-important type position. But you don't do that in a committee that deals with partisan issues. So this has nothing to do with diversity in the legislature. When you put Democrats in very important positions to deal with very important issues, in this case, gun rights. However, as part of that appointment process, I placed a majority of members on committees of jurisdiction which reflect Texas's long-standing pro-gun stance. This is the part that pisses me off right here, part of the problem. Again, this is January 26th. He says, quote, "The fact that some fringe groups can't count to 5 for a 9-member committee is really not my problem." Guess what, Dennis? We can count to 5. Guess how I know we can count to 5? Because a 5-person majority just passed a gun control, so-called gun safety bill, House Bill 316, out of committee. And guess what? Were those 5 people Republicans? No. 1 was a Republican. 4 of them were Democrats. So, yeah, we counted to 5, and 1 Republican went with all those Democrats. Good job there. Good job there, Dennis Bonnen. Can you count to 5? Apparently, you should have counted to 6. Maybe 5 was all you could count high enough to get us a good majority. So it took 1 Republican to pass out of committee an anti-gun bill. He continues on. "I trusted my colleagues in the Texas House. I trusted my committee chairs to allow reasonable bills which reflect the rights of Texans." Okay, I'm just going to go down here. Blah, 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 blah. Then he says, "But as they say, talk is cheap." So the final test, in Dennis Bonnen's words here, will be what does or does not happen when the gavel falls at the end of the 86th legislative session. Now, I'm a critic of Dennis Bonnen. A lot of people listening and watching this podcast right now are critics of Dennis Bonnen. So he's got a word for you. I'll bet, quote, I'm going to read this word for word in Dennis Bonnen's own words. Quote, "I'll bet my critics an AR-15 that their gun rights won't be infringed. In the meantime, I'll be working with tried and true gun rights organizations to see if we might be able to actually strengthen the rights of those of us who are responsible gun owners." All right. That's what Dennis Bonnen said. I think he's going to be owing us an AR-15 here pretty soon. So Dennis Bonnen says all of that. Then he goes and he lies about what McNutt did. Here's what McNutt really did. And because of the fact that constitutional carry is not completely dead yet, but it's essentially on life support and it's about to have the plug pulled. So what McNutt decided to do with Texas gun rights is go to Bonnen's district, For Price's district, and Representative For Price is the chair of the Calendars Committee. That's why he chose that district. And then Burrows' district. Now, I don't know why he chose Burrows' district, to be honest with you. I don't know what the point is. I do know that he's not supportive of constitutional carry. All 3 of these people are Republicans. I don't know where For Price stands on constitutional carry, but Bonnen and Burrows are against it. All right? Burrows is an idiot who thinks that by allowing constitutional carry, the reason he opposes it is because gang members are going to be able to carry guns. Seriously. So he decided, McNutt, to go to the districts and take out some leaflets, okay? He went to take some leaflets to the different districts and let voters know that Bonnen, Burrows, and Price were potentially going to be stalling gun rights. Okay, here's what that thing said. Let me find it here. I just had it. Where are you? Here is what why did I close it? This is what he was handing out. It says, and it's just a flyer. He wasn't going and he wasn't knocking on doors. He wasn't walking up to houses and causing scenes or anything like that. All it says is Dennis Bonnen will decide as Speaker of the House if Texas will become a constitutional carry state or will continue to infringe upon the right to keep and bear arms. Bonnen is currently blocking HB 357 in the House, and he's doing that through his selection of committee chairs, by the way, With the legislative session half over, the clock is running out on HB 357 to the House floor for a vote, or to bring it to a vote. Please call Speaker Dennis Bonnen to insist that he advance constitutional carry to the House floor for a vote. It's got the phone number. Then it talks a little bit about what is constitutional carry. Then it's got the Texas gun rights logo. It says, is State Representative Dennis Bonnen trying to kill constitutional carry? Then it says, urge Speaker Bonnen to advance constitutional carry, HB 357, to the House floor for a vote. And then it's got his name again. And then it talks a little bit about who paid for this advertisement, which was Texas gun rights. This is what was being handed out. There's nothing different here about what, Texas gun rights was handing out than what politicians themselves hand out every 2 years when they come to your house begging you for their vote. It's okay for them to knock on your door, but then they get all butt hurt and ass hurt when they screw up and try to undermine your rights and you go to their door or their districts. But they're not just upset about the fact that you come to their they want to lie about it. So here's what happens. According to Bonnen, and according to the story in the Houston Chronicle, Bonnen says that officers with the Department of Public Safety were waiting for him. McNutt handed them a business card and left. Here's what really happened, okay? What really happened was McNutt was going through the neighborhood and putting flyers on. And, of course, Bonnen's house was one of those houses that he was going to put a flyer on the door. As he walked up, this is after he'd already been to Burroughs and he'd already been to Price's district. As he walked up, he noticed that there were two DPS troopers on the street there. And so he thought that, well, maybe there's a threat, or maybe this is normal. Maybe the speaker, because he's never been to a speaker's house before, maybe they always have security. I mean, it makes sense, right? He had no idea that someone in one of the other districts, and maybe someone saw the videos that they were watching on, because I have no doubt what probably happened was some libtard gun grabber who pays attention to all the gun rights groups in order to try and undermine our efforts, probably sent something to the representatives saying, oh my gosh, these guys are, look what they're saying, and they're threatening these legislators, and everybody got blown up. The situation just got blown up. And eventually, I guess, the word got out that he was headed to Bonnen's district, and so the DPS, in typical overreaction fashion, decided to send two troopers to Bonnen's district. Why? Because, as the Houston Chronicle puts it, there was an outraged gun rights activist headed his way. Well, hell, every gun advocate, if you believe in gun rights, should be outraged. But there was no anger or animosity on Chris McNutt's part for going through these neighborhoods. He shows up, he approaches the DPS troopers, and he says, he introduces himself, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing, this is the organization I'm with. He's got a T-shirt, his Texas Gun Rights T-shirt on, so that he identifies himself, who he is and what he's doing. He hands them a copy of the flyer. He's like, hey, can I just put this on the door? That's what I'm out here doing. I'm out here leafleting doors. They look at it. It's actually a very favorable, it's not even a contentious, there's nothing contentious about the interaction between DPS and Chris McNutt at all. It's just a great conversation. He asked if the troopers will put it on the door instead, because obviously they're worried about McNutt or maybe someone else coming up there. And so the troopers go and they put the flyer on Bonnen's door. Bonnen's wife, this is key. Bonnen's wife never walks outside. Bonnen's wife never opens the door. We don't even know if she was actually even there, because McNutt never saw his wife, ever. And so, and then while he was taking that up there, he let the DPS trooper, he thanked him, handed him his card at that point, gave him his card after he handed him the flyer, and said, okay, I'm going to go and continue putting these leaflets out. And that's what he did. That was the whole interaction. Now, does that sound sinister? No. Is there a problem with that? No. Did he threaten somebody? No. Did he make threatening statements? No. Nothing. You can go to the Texas Gun Rights or Chris McNutt's Facebook page and watch the videos that he put up when he was in each of these districts. Nothing was threatening. Nothing was in any way whatsoever something that should have alarmed anyone, except for politicians who are afraid because they're about to be exposed. They don't want their constituents knowing about their anti-gun stat. Now, McNutt released a statement to the media, and the media only printed part of the statement. So what I want to do is I want to read Chris McNutt's entire statement because I want y'all to understand. I want y'all to understand the lies that Dennis Bonnen and these Republican rhinos, along with Pancho Narvaez right now, are using against our gun rights. They are trying to Smollett gun rights advocates in order to kill House Bill 37. They are looking for the proverbial Corey Watkins, like what they tried to do with open carry. Remember when open carry was dead because Corey Watkins made an ass of himself in Pancho Narvaez's office, and everybody got upset, and they started wearing these buttons. Oh, I am Pancho Narvaez. As a matter of fact, where are the I am Dennis Bonnen's wife buttons at this session? And they tried to kill open carry and stifle you from being able to get your rights to open carry based on the actions of one person. Well, now we don't have those actions, so they're blaming Chris McNutt is what they're doing. This is the full statement that he sent to the media because they only print part of it. So I want to read his entire statement. This is a quote. If politicians like Dennis Bonnen think they can show up at the doorsteps of Second Amendment supporters and make promises to earn votes in the election season, they shouldn't be surprised when we show up in their neighborhoods to insist they keep their promises during the legislative season. After all, door-to-door grassroots politics is the core of the First Amendment and a respected American tradition which politicians and concerned citizens use all the time to promote causes and campaigns they care about. Unfortunately, this deliberate overreaction by Speaker Dennis Bonnen and other Republican lawmakers, and I will add Pancho Narvaez, is meant to divert attention away from the fact that they're betraying the pro-gun promise they made to give constitutional carry a, quote, quick hearing. The fact is, if Speaker Bonnen and his lieutenants didn't give HB 357 the hearing before rapidly approaching legislative deadlines, they will be responsible for killing the number one legislative priority for Texas gun rights and the Republican Party of Texas. If they insist on betraying the very same pro-gun Texans whose support they solicited last fall, we have a duty to report that to our members in their districts now and after the session is over. Texas gun rights remains hopeful Bonnen and his allies will instead choose to uphold the promise to advance constitutional carry this year, and we're committed to doing whatever it takes to make that happen. As soon as they schedule the hearing, we're eager to inform our membership of the good news. That was the full statement. Now, all the media reported from that thing was this right here. If politicians like Speaker Dennis Bonnen think they can show up at the doorsteps of Second Amendment supporters and make promises to earn votes in the election season, they shouldn't be surprised when we show up in their neighborhoods to insist they simply keep their promises in the legislative session. So he called Bonnen's response a deliberate overreaction, which I read in the piece there. Here's where it gets sinister. This is where it gets sinister. Burrows confirmed that McNutt visited his home but declined further comment. Price's office did not respond to a request for comment. Here's the sinister part. On the day he posted a video saying he was in Lake Jackson, McNutt wore a shirt with an assault rifle on it, a detail that Kim Bonnen, Speaker Bonnen's wife, says bothers her. Yeah, that's a pregnant pause right there. On the day he posted a video saying he was in Lake Jackson, McNutt wore a shirt with an assault rifle on it, a detail that Kim Bonnen, the speaker's wife, says bothers her. I want to show you the shirt, or at least part of the shirt, that he was wearing. See if I can pull this up here real quick. Here's part of it, along with the leaflet. So I don't know if y'all can see that in the camera there. I know my audio levels are really bad. I don't know. I was trying to, I'm not going to mess with it. Anyway, I don't know if you can see that or not. It doesn't matter. He's wearing a Texas gun rights shirt. The logo for Texas Gun Rights has an AR-15. Okay, yeah, you can see it in the video there. Has an AR-15 above the logo. This is the Texas Gun Rights logo. The Open Carry Texas logo has a Glock in the C of OCT, and our logo has a Glock. Now, would she be whining about the fact that, oh my gosh, a guy from Open Carry Texas showed up at my door and he had a gun on his shirt? Now, it's not just sinister enough that she complained that there was an assault rifle on his shirt. See, when you first read this, he wore a shirt with an assault rifle on it. It makes it sound as if he has a gun, like he's open carrying a gun. But here's her quote. This is her quote. Quote, "You're also showing up with a t-shirt with a machine gun on it." How is any gun owner in Texas supposed to take a speaker seriously about being pro-gun when his wife, and let me tell you, when I read that quote from Speaker Bonnen's Facebook page, he included a picture of him showing his son how to shoot a gun. If his wife doesn't know what an AR-15 is and what a machine gun is, we've got issues here. But the fact that his wife is talking to the media and saying that you're also showing up with a t-shirt with a machine gun on it, she said, adding that the visit was, quote, "freaking me out. This cannot become how we advocate." What is freaking you out about a guy in a t-shirt that has a logo, and the logo happens to have an AR-15 on it, not a machine gun? I am really trying hard not to use words I really want to use here. But the speaker's wife is Smolletting Chris McNutt, talking about showing up with a t-shirt with a machine gun on it, not saying that it was just the logo of his gun rights organization. This is blasphemy, is really what this is. And Dennis Bonnen is sitting here touting his A rating with the NRA, is saying that he's pro-gun, but guess what? He's promised you and me an AR-15 if our rights are violated. Let me read that again for you. All right, I'm going to read what Dennis Bonnen said here. "The final test will be what does or doesn't happen when the gavel falls at the end of the 86th legislative session. I'll bet my critics in AR-15 that their gun rights won't be infringed. In the meantime, I'll be working with tried and true gun rights organizations, whatever that means, yada, yada." She says she worries that other people who have a, quote, insane view may take it upon themselves to visit legislators' homes. I just read to you what the flyer said. Is it really an insane view to want law-abiding citizens to be able to carry a firearm without begging for government permission? Now, here's the proof I promised you at the beginning of the video. And then I'm going to leave with a word of advice. I said I'm going to prove that Dennis Bonnen does not support constitutional carry, that Dennis Bonnen does not support unlicensed self-defense, that Dennis Bonnen believes that in order for you to be able to defend your life, you need to beg government for permission first. They need to be able to give you permission to defend yourself against a threat. If somebody comes out to rob you on the street and you want to defend yourself, by golly, you better have asked him. You better have gone to Bonnen first and your politicians and asked for permission to be able to defend yourself against someone trying to rob you or someone trying to steal your car or take your kids or rape your wife. Bonnen, who is a gun owner, called the messages, quote, very threatening. I'll talk about what those messages were, but here's the thing right here. Hey, wait a minute. Where'd my quote go? Hang on. Oh, I'm missing a page. Hang on one second. Stand by. There it is. All right. I'm going to have to pull up the story now on the internet because for some reason my thing cut off. Here's the proof. Speaker Bonnen has admitted what we all knew. You know, those of us in the fringe gun rights movement, remember, this is what he called you. If you're watching and listening to this podcast, he's talking about you. He says, "It has come to my attention that a small handful of gun rights fringe groups have called my leadership into question." Let me tell you who's called his leadership into question. Open Carry Texas, Lone Star Gun Rights, Texas Gun Rights, Gun Owners of America, National Association for Gun Rights. And did I say Lone Star Gun Rights? I'll say it again. All of these organizations, and by the way, so has Charles Cotton of the NRA. These are fringe groups. Now, here's the proof. At the very end of this article, hidden way down here, at the very end, the very last paragraph, Bonnen said he's not in control of the fate of the bill and said he does not dictate how people vote. Quote, "With that said, do I think this is bad policy?" Talking about constitutional carry. "With that said, do I think this is bad policy? Yes. So I'm not running from that." Boom. There you go. There you go. Dennis Bonnen just admitted, unless Andrea Zielinski of the Houston Chronicle misquoted Dennis Bonnen does not support your right to keep and bear arms unless you beg for permission. That is why he chose Pancho Narvaez for the very committee that was going to hear this bill, and he knew this bill was coming up because it was pre-filed immediately after the election in November. And he knew that the place that was going to hold that hearing was going to be Pancho Narvaez. Do I think constitutional carry is bad policy? Yes. So I'm not running from that. Dennis Bonnen, the speaker that was selected by Republican representatives in the House of Representatives in the Texas legislature, just said that he does not support unlicensed self-defense. That is why now, instead of having to put the blame on Narvaez, they've created this boogeyman. They've Jussie Smolletted gun rights organizations and created this boogeyman, this false narrative. Oh my gosh, a guy with a machine gun on his shirt showed up at my house and scared my children and my wife. No, there were no wives present. There were no children present. There was never any interaction. There was no argument, nothing. Everything was cordial. The DPS agents that were there with Chris McNutt would attest to that. This is beyond absurd. There is only one way the speaker can fix this. Well, there's two ways. Demand and tell Pancho, look, give them a hearing now, ASAP, waive the 3-day. Pancho can waive or suspend the rules about the 3-day grace period if he wanted to, and he could hold a hearing right now on HB 357. In fact, Speaker Bonnen, if he truly cares, can reassign that bill to another committee. He won't do that. I hope someone can correct me here, but I also believe that if he wanted to, they could suspend rules and completely bypass the entire committee process and just bring it straight to the floor. They suspend rules for everything else. They can suspend rules for that. So this is my message to our representatives. Then I have a message to all of you. Give this bill a hearing. Stop lying about what happened. Stop lying about threats. And I'm going to address the threats before I get off here. Stop lying to Texans about why constitutional carry is not passing and creating scapegoats and creating excuses. And give it a hearing. Chairman Narvaez, honor your word to me. Do not even if this were true, even if it were true that there's a handful of people that are being idiots, even if that were true, don't hold that against millions of law-abiding Texas gun owners. That is a cop-out, that is dishonorable, and it's despicable. Give us a hearing. And no, even none of this stuff is true. But here's what is true, and this is the last thing I want to cover before I end this. I understand that this is a passionate issue. A lot of people are heavily invested and have put a lot of work into this. And a lot of people care deeply about liberty. And you should. You absolutely should. But there's a right way to do this, and there's a wrong way to do this. And when you go around and you get online, and I understand that a lot of this stuff is hyperbole, okay? I get it because I'm not an idiot politician who tries to twist everything to suit whatever my political agenda is, okay? So I understand that a lot of this stuff is just hyperbole. Going around saying, hang them from trees and drag them out by their toes and drag them through the streets, and it's time that the tree of liberty be watered by the blood of tyrants. Okay, I get it, and I understand the sentiment. I do. I really do. Is just hyperbole. But it does not. Sorry, hang on one second. Let me. There you go. It does not help when there are people who are at the Capitol several times a week, 12 hours a day on some cases, busting our asses to get a bill passed. It does no one any good when there are people out there that are making those kinds of violent comments. There is a time for violence. This isn't the time. We're not at that point of violence right now. The only time you need to worry about violence is when violence is being used against you. When they actually come to start confiscating your guns. Is that too late? No, it's not too late. That's when everybody gets together. There is still a political process. I'm frustrated. You're frustrated. I get that. But talking about using violence against politicians or their families, it does not help. And what it does is it takes the efforts of people like me, people like AJ, people like Rick Briscoe, people like Chris McNutt, people like Jonathan Stickland, people like Rachel Malone, people like Tara Mitcha of the NRA, people like Alice Tripp of the TSRA, and in our own way, everybody that is out there busting our asses at the Capitol. And it really makes it harder for us to be able to make this happen. Is it an excuse? Yes, it's an excuse. All this is for a politician is an excuse. When they can go, you can always find someone. There's always going to be that someone that will say something stupid. Nobody can prevent that from happening. And you know what? People have free speech to say stupid things all they want. But if you truly want this legislation to happen, we've got to try and use the system the way it is. Violence right now is not the system. We're not even close to that. And so my appeal to you is these rhinos and the Democrats and the left and the gun grabbers and all these people that are trying to take away your rights and trying to keep from being held accountability are looking for an excuse. So don't give them an excuse, especially during the legislative session when there are people trying to work within the system. And it's a screwed up system. It's an absolutely broken system that we have to go begging our politicians for our rights. But you know what? Right now, there is no stomach, whether you like it or not. There is no stomach for people taking up arms and storming the Capitol. And there's no reason to do that either. So let's stop playing the word games right now. Let us work the way, and look, if you're not out there at the Capitol, busting your ass, doing the things then, and seeing kind of how the system works, it's a game, folks. It's a game. And we have to try to play the game within their means while also holding them accountable. But it's very hard to do that when people give them an excuse. Now, if Bonnen truly cared about violence and these threats and everything, then he would have made Pancho Narvaez. See, this is how I know this is just an excuse. That they're using Chris McNutt as an excuse because he put as chairman of this committee a man who threatened violence against another representative. So apparently Bonnen thinks it's okay for a representative to threaten another member, to actually threaten another member of the legislature. But when a citizen tries to go to the House and hold them accountable with a flyer, that's a bad thing. But if you threaten and push and violent and assault somebody on the House floor, committee chair for you. Here you go. Here's a committee chair. That's okay because they're a part of that privileged class. So Bonnen is being a hypocrite, first of all. But ladies and gentlemen, please tone the language down because it doesn't help. It just doesn't help, and it's making our lives harder. In 2015, when we got open carry passed, Rick and I, and I'm sure others did, but I know for a fact, Rick and I spent 3 days going from office to office to office to apologize for the conduct of Corey Watkins. Because they almost torpedoed open carry. We're in the same situation now with constitutional carry. Please don't give them a reason. I'm begging you to just temper your attitudes for now. At the end of the legislative session, we might have a right to be very angry. But you know where you threaten politicians? What's the one thing that they value above anything else? The one thing that they value more than you, your rights. What is that? It's getting reelected. That's what they care about. So that's where we have to threaten them, is on their chances of reelection. Instead of threatening to take pitchforks and knives and rope them up and hang them from trees and all that kind of stuff, why don't you threaten them that you're going to walk into their neighborhoods and campaign for whoever their primary opponent is and do it that way? That's what's going to help this out. We are working our asses off, and now we have to work even harder to just get a damn hearing because there are lies being spread. Nothing that Chris McNutt did, in my view, was wrong. He did absolutely nothing wrong. But what they're pointing to are people who are making comments under the things that Chris McNutt has done and just making ignorant comments. Okay? That's what's hurting it. That's why we don't have nice things right now. And I am just begging people to have some dignity, some honor, some self-respect at least, and let's tone down the rhetoric. All right? I'm angry just like you're angry. I'm calling these guys out just like they're calling them. But are we a civilized society or are we a bunch of mongrels? Let's act like a civilized society. We can be angry. We can be forceful. But we don't have to be violent, and we don't have to be threatening, and we don't have to be absurd in doing all that. And I don't want to continue on like I'm lecturing you guys. We've got to get this done, folks. How do you do that? Call Speaker Bonnen. Call Representative Narvaez. And look, I'm going to say this right now publicly. To Pancho Narvaez, to Speaker Bonnen, if there are people out there that have said and made threats, I can't apologize for them, but what I can say is that does not represent our values in open carry Texas. It doesn't represent my values, and it doesn't represent the values of most gun owners. Now, most gun owners, I think there is a time and a place for when we're going to have to take up arms, but I guarantee you that the vast, overwhelming majority of people who want constitutional carry passed, unlicensed self-defense passed. That's what I'm going to start calling it, is unlicensed self-defense, because it's still not constitutional carry. But those of us that want unlicensed self-defense passed are not representative of those minor people. You just said in here, and your own post, that it's a small handful of people. Okay? You said that yourself. So then don't hold that against everyone else. And it's not just me saying this. I'm going to leave with this. I'm going to play a message from Jonathan Stickland, and then I'm going to end the stream thank you for everyone that's out there that is that understands the political environment and how to get bills passed, how to get laws passed, how to gain momentum, how to gather support. Thank you for those people that understand that. And it's, there are times and places for certain language, and now is not the time or the place for that language when we're trying to get just a freaking hearing on a bill. We can't even get a freaking hearing. All right? Here's Jonathan Stickland.
Recently, I have seen and been made aware of some of the most concerning behavior I have witnessed in my time as a legislator. I am saddened by the acts of a few individuals that have stolen the conversation about legislation that I deeply care about. I have been the recipient of bad behavior in the past, and I know the toll that it can take on legislators' families. Advocating for issues and bills are not only a good thing, but I believe it is the duty of every liberty-loving Texan. With that being said, there is a right way and a wrong way to influence the legislative process. Calling, writing, protesting, even showing up at the Capitol is something I strongly encourage. Campaigning and trying to replace those in office that you disagree with, it is as well. All of these things can and should be accomplished with respect and decency. There is never a time or place to physically threaten an elected official with violence. It is never okay or helpful to your cause to curse out their staff. It's never okay to target their homes or personal businesses when you know they are not in town. I want to thank the tens of thousands of Texans who are involved in the political process, and they're doing it the right way. We must all individually hold ourselves to the highest of standards in our fight for liberty.
I'm sorry. Shoot. I forgot to turn my mic back on. That's my fault. So I said I was going to end this. I said I was going to end this after Stickland's speech, but I want to address one more thing for Speaker Bonnen, and also address something that Jonathan Stickland just said, and then I promise I'm done because I want to go. Both of them don't believe that we need to be going to speakers' homes, and I would agree with that, to representatives' homes, especially when all the representatives are in Austin. But I want you to think logically about this, Mr. Speaker. And I want, and Jonathan, I think you understand this, so this isn't really a criticism of you. But Rick and I have been to the Speaker's office several times and asked for a meeting. We have sent several emails, and we have asked for a meeting with the Speaker. We have sent several phone calls asking for a meeting with the Speaker. We've gone to the floor looking for a meeting with the Speaker, hoping to catch him. We've tried to catch him in the halls of the legislature, hoping to get a meeting. We've gone to committee hearings, hoping to get a hearing. We have done everything we can in Austin to try and get you to listen to us, face-to-face, one-on-one, just to understand what it is we're trying to do. We have tried all that. So while I agree with you that people should not be going to the homes of legislators, I agree with you on that. But you should not be surprised that when we're ignored in Austin, we go to your district. Not we, but people. Don't be surprised when we feel ignored like our politicians are not listening to us and the people in power are ignoring us and actually working against our best interests, don't be surprised when we show up. And if we do show up, we do need to be respectful. We should be respectful of all human beings. You don't treat the speaker with respect because he's an esteemed politician. You treat him with respect because he's a person. You treat everyone with respect because they're a people. Because they are people. And it's okay to be upset. And it's okay to be forceful. But you can do all of that stuff and still be respectful. All right? That's what I'm going to leave you guys with. Thank you for listening to my diatribe. I hope any of this made sense. But what's really important is I wanted to make clear Bonnen is putting in the media is absolutely 100% false. They are trying to drum up a boogeyman in the era of Jussie Smollett in order to kill a bill that they don't want to begin with. And instead of admitting that, oh, no, I just don't support gun rights, they want to have an excuse. And that's what this is all about. Guys, take care. God bless. Be safe. Be free. If you like this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to this channel, and also click the notification bell so that when I go live, you know what I'm doing out there, that I'm going live on something or I've got a video. Have a great weekend. I need a break.